we are going to learn the basics of JavaScript two-dimensional programming, which can be applied to two-dimensional game programming. And by the end of this video, you should be able to write a simple program that will execute this. To write this program, we're going to start by drawing out this rectangle. Next, followed by this. Next, followed by this. And finally, we're going to draw this. And to get started, we're going to start by establishing the invisible container here, holding this drawing. And the container name is called canvas. To get started, step number 1. We are going to create a folder on any of our computer drives. In this video, I'm going to create a folder on the desktop. I will right click. Next, I will go to New and click Folder. I'm going to call this folder JavaScript 2D. I will press Enter. This folder will house the file that will help us execute the program. Next, from the task bar, type notepad and press Enter. Next, we're going to start with a tag, and inside this tag I will have an exclamation mark, then doc type spacebar HTML. This is the first line of code that helps the browser to render our HTML file. Next, I'm going to start another tag, HTML. Next, I will close HTML. Next, inside the opening tag, I will type lang. And the language we're going to use here is English. This English can be UK. This English can be US. Here, we're going to leave it as English. Next, inside this HTML beginning and closing tag, we're going to have an open head and a close head. And inside this head, we're going to have some series of tags. And one of them is a meta tag. Here, I have typed series of meta tags. The cassette specifies the encoding for the HTML. The description describes the content of the program. And the keywords that the browser will be looking out for is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And here, the author, I have put Kelvin Academy. The viewport is for the devices that we're going to be using to watch this program. And if it is a phone, this instruction says that the device width should be used. Thing inside this meta tag is for the browser. Next, we're going to specify the title. Here, we're going to open a tag and put title. Next, we're going to close the title tag. And in between the title, we're going to write the title for this website. Let's call it 2D programming in JavaScript. And all these are inside the head of the HTML. Next, after the closure of the head for the HTML, we're going to start another tag, which is the body of the HTML. And we're going to close the body for the HTML. Next, we're going to start by specifying the container that will hold the rectangles that we want to draw. This container will help us to hold all the squares or rectangles that we are about to draw in this program. And we're going to start by specifying that the x-axis is 600 pixels and the y-axis is also 600 pixels. Pixels is the unit for these numbers, and this container is known as HTML canvas. Next, inside this body, we're going to specify the canvas, and we're going to start with a tag canvas. We're going to close this canvas. Next, inside this opening canvas, we're going to specify the width in a quotation mark. Also, we're going to specify the height in a quotation mark. We have decided that the width is 600 pixels and the height is also 600 pixels. Now that we have specified our container, next we're going to start by opening up scripts for the JavaScript. Still inside this body, we're going to close the JavaScript with script. This is the beginning of the body of the HTML, and this is the closure of the body of the HTML. And inside this body, we have specified our canvas container, and we're going to write a JavaScript program. Next, inside this script, we're going to start by telling the HTML document to recognize the canvas, and the command is document.query selector, and it's a method. I will end this line with a semicolon. Query selector is a JavaScript method that will allow this document to recognize this canvas. And inside this method, in the argument, I'm going to put a quotation mark. Inside this quotation mark, I'm going to tell it to recognize canvas, which is this canvas. However, this method is too large to do a work. Next, we're going to declare a variable that will help us to hold this method. And to declare this variable, we can use const for constant, and we're going to call it collect page, and we're going to assign all this method to this declared collect page, and is a constant. If we don't want to declare this as a constant, we can also declare it with var, or we can declare this with let. In this program, I'm going to use let. Here we're going to say let, which is a declaration, collect page, which is a variable. Help us to hold this method. Now, collect page is having the document query selector. Next, we're going to ask collect page to return anything that we're going to draw on the canvas in 2D. Next, we're going to declare a variable, and we're going to say let, we can call it anything. Let me call it Kelvin draw, and the command is collect page dot get context, and get context is a method, and inside this method is going to be a two-dimensional drawing. In programming, one event happens before the next event. Kelvin draw will help us to draw all the two-dimensional drawings. Next, we're going to start by drawing this first rectangle. And this first rectangle inside this canvas at this point, the length of our x-axis is going to be 150, and the length for our y-axis is also going to be 150. And we're going to fill this with a green color. Next, we're going to call Kelvin Draw to help us with the drawing. And we're going to have Kelvin Draw dot fillStyle. And the fillStyle is a property. Next, we're going to have a quotation mark, and we're going to end this with a semicolon. Inside this quotation mark, we're going to put the color. I'm going to type green, or instead of typing green, you can also use the hexadecimal color. Hexadecimal color for green is #008000. This is the same thing as typing green. Next, I'm going to call Kelvin Draw again. Dot. This time around, we're going to call fillRect to fill it with a rectangle that will have a green color. I will end this with a semicolon. And inside the argument, we're going to have the beginning of the rectangle, which has a coordinate of xy. Next is the width for the x-axis, and next the height for the y-axis. The x-axis, we say it should have 0, 0, and the length for the x-axis, we want it to be 150, and that of the y-axis, it should also be 150. You can see that this is a square box, but the rect command will help us to draw this, filling it with green color. Next, we're going to click the file command to save this work, and let's run it to see what we have. I will click file and click save as. Next, I will click the desktop to locate the folder that we created at the beginning of this video. I will click desktop. The name of the folder is JavaScript 2D. In the file name, I'm going to give it a name like 2D JavaScript, and I'm going to end this with .html or .htm. You must end it with .html, else the program will not run on your browser. Next, I will click save. Next, we're going to go to locate the folder from the desktop. On the desktop, this is the folder. Next, we're going to double click to open this folder, and this is our file. Next, we're going to right click and go to open. We're going to choose any browser of our choice or any browser we have on our computer. Here, I'm going to click on Google Chrome, and this is our rectangle. This point is 0, 0. That is 0 on the x-axis and 0 on the y-axis. This is 150 on the y-axis, and this is also 150 on the x-axis. Next, we're going to reduce this to 100 and also reduce this to 100. Now I'm going to have a 100 by 100 square box. If you want to create a rectangle, you can leave this 100 and make this 200. Let's click file, save. Go back to your browser and refresh. Now we have a rectangle of 100 by 200. I'm going to leave this just 100 by 100. I will click File, Save. If we refresh our browser, we have 100 by. I want to draw a rectangle or a square box here, very close to this, and I want to draw another one here. You can see that I am moving along the x-axis. The y-axis is constant. That means the y-axis in my program will remain 0 while x increases. Remember, in mathematics, this is your y-axis and this is your x-axis. This y-axis remains constant at 0, but the x-axis keep increasing. Next, I'm going to draw the next square, which is blue, and later I'm going to draw the next one, which is black, and the next one is red, and this next one is yellow, and here it is still blank. Next, we're going to call Kelvin draw again dot fillStyle, and this property we're going to assign blue to it. Now we're going to call Kelvin draw again dot fillRect, and in this method the x-axis will move by 100, the y-axis remains constant, and we're going to draw a rectangle of 100 by 100. We're going to save and refresh our browser. Next, click File, Save. Next, go back to your browser and refresh. This remains our first rectangle, and this is the second rectangle. We want to create a space here of 20 pixels. Next, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to increase this 100 by 20. Hence, it's going to move on the x-axis by 120 instead of 100. Next, I will click File and click Save. Next, we're going to refresh our browser, and now we have this still on the x-axis while the y-axis remains constant. Next, I'm going to copy this line of code, Ctrl C. I will create space, I will paste. The only thing I will do here is, this is blue. The next one, I will change it to black, supposed to be 220. However, I'm going to put another additional 20 here for the space. This is for the black. If you click File, Save, if we refresh the browser, we have the black one here. Next, I will copy and paste. I will change this black this time around to red. If you add 100 to 240, you are going to get 340. However, I will add 20 for the space. If this remains 240 and I increase it by 100, that is this 100, I'm going to get 340. Let's look at how it's going to look like. Save and go back to the browser. Refresh. You can see it is very close. If this is what you want to design, then that's fine. However, I will make this 360 for that additional space. I will click File, save. And if I refresh the browser, I'm going to have this. Next, I will copy this, paste, and I will change this red this time around to yellow. Next, if I add 100 to this, I'm going to get 460. But I'm going to add additional 20 to be 480. I will click File, Save. You can see that my y-axis remains constant. Next, refresh the browser. Now we got this. Now we are done with the x-axis. I'm going to put a comment here. We'll just say x-axis. If I leave this way, JavaScript will not run this program because JavaScript doesn't know what this is. For a comment, I will put // for one line. These two slashes will cause JavaScript to ignore this line of code. This line of code is just for the programmer and not for the program. Next, I'm going to make another comment here, and I will say for the y-axis. Next, I'm going to call Kelvin draw again dot fillStyle, and we're going to assign a property to this. You will see that here, after this green, the next one is blue, followed by black, red, and yellow. But on this y-axis, this is 100. This space is 120. So from this point to this point will be 120. We are going to specify 120 before we start to draw this rectangle. Our y-axis will keep moving, but our x-axis will remain 0. Hence, on this line, we're going to start with blue because we're not going to repeat the green color again. Next, we're going to call Kelvin draw dot fillRect. Inside the fillRect, the x is 0 and the y is 120. And we want to draw a rectangle of 100, 100. We're going to click File, Save. Next, we're going to refresh our browser, and now we have this. Next, instead of typing all this, I will just copy this and paste. This is blue. I will change the next one to black. Can use the hexadecimal color for black, which is #000000. Next, if I click File, Save, and run this program, I want you to figure out what the problem will be here. Look at this line of code and look at this method. You see that everything here is the same. I specify this as blue and this as black, and because this event will happen and this event will happen, this event happened last is going to overwrite this. That means this blue will be there, but this black will be superimposed on it. Let's run it to see how it's going to look like. If I refresh this browser, the blue is here, the black is on top of the blue. To actually see both the blue and the black, I'm going to increase this to 240. If you add 100 to this, you are going to get 220. I've added additional 20 for the gap. I will click File and Save. If I refresh the browser, you see we can now see the blue and the black. I'm going to copy and paste for red and yellow. I'll copy these two Ctrl C or copy, and I will paste for these two. Now I have 4. This is blue, this is black. I will change this to red. If I don't want to type red and I want to use the hexadecimal color, it is #FF0000. This is red. After red, the next one is yellow. If I don't want to use yellow, I can use the hexadecimal color for yellow, which is #FFFF00. This is 120. This is 240. The next one supposed to be 340, but I will add 20 to it to become 360. If I add 100 to this, the next one supposed to be 460, but I need to add 20 to become 480. You see that the x-axis is constant while only the y-axis is moving. Next, I will click File and Save. Next, I will refresh the browser. You can see we now have this. If you actually write a 2D game, you're going to see that the movement of this is very important, which we are going to see in subsequent videos. I have tried to keep all this simple because this is a beginner's programming class. I am going to rewrite this program in another video using the loop statement, and we are going to have just only few lines of code rather than all these lines of code. But as a beginner, this is very important. Next, we are going to draw this. To achieve this, we are going to move towards this direction 200, and we are going to come down on the y-axis 200, and this will help us to create this rectangle in this position. You can see that everything here is for the x-axis and everything here is for the y-axis. Next, I'm going to put a command here, and I will call it x, y axis. Next, I will call Kelvin draw again dot fillStyle, and this property is going to be green. Next, I will call Kelvin draw again dot fillRect, end it with a semicolon. And this time around, the x-axis is moving by 200 and the y-axis is also moving by 200. And we're going to draw a rectangle of 100 by 100. We're going to click File, Save. Next, we're going to refresh our browser. And now you got this. Next, I'm going to reduce this by 50 to this position, so that this will move towards this direction. And to achieve this, I'm going to reduce this. Let me type 150 by 150. I will click File and Save. Next, I will refresh. You see, I've just moved it up a bit. Next, I will copy this line of code and paste. Next, I will change this green, this time around, to blue. This is 150. I'm going to increase this to 250 by 250. This is 150 by 150. This next one is 250 by 250. I will click File and Save. Next, I will refresh and we have this. Next, I'm going to copy this and paste. I will change this blue to black. This is 250 by 250. I will increase this to 350 by 350. I will save. Next, I will refresh and I got this. Next, I will copy this and paste. I will change this black to red. Next, this is 350 by 350. I will change this to 450 by 450. I will click File and Save. Next, I will refresh and now we have this. Next, I'm going to paste again and I will change this red to yellow. This is 450. I will change this to 550. I will click File and Save. Next, I will refresh. You can observe that this yellow part is cut off because it has gone off our container, which is the canvas. To correct this so that this yellow will show, I will scroll up just beneath this body. We have that the canvas width is 600 pixels and the height is 600. I will increase this to maybe 800. I will click File and Save. Next, I will refresh. Now you can see everything. Because I increase the canvas, you see my page can now scroll. There is a container here and it's an invisible container where we have drawn this object. Next, I'm going to reshape this drawing to actually look like this. And to achieve this, I'm going to modify the X and the Y axis. This is 150. And instead of 250, I will make this 200. Let me click File and Save. If I refresh this browser, you can see that I just reduced this by 50. I'm going to do the same to each of this by reducing the X and the Y axis by 50. That is, this is 150 by 150. The next will be 200 and the next will be 250. This next is going to be 300 and this next one will be 350. Now we got this. I will click File and Save. Next, we are going to refresh our page and now we have this. You can see in this video, Kelvin Draw actually helped us to do all the drawing because we assigned canvas on the document to collect page and we asked Kelvin Draw to collect what we're going to draw on this document, which will be a two-dimensional object. Another programmer might not like to do this way. Instead of using Kelvin Draw, we might decide to use collect page to do everything that Kelvin Draw has done in this program. And to do this, we're going to comment on this line. And I will use collect page straight out to do the job by using this line of code and assigning it here. I'm going to have everything on one line. That is document.query selector, and here we have assigned the canvas to the document, and the get context, we get the two-dimensional object which we have drawn on the canvas, and we're going to see it on the document, which is this document page. And if we are going to write it like this, then all this Kelvin Draw will become collect page. Remember, collect page is a variable. I decided to call it this name, collect page, and I call this Kelvin draw. You can call this anything, but in this video I decided not to write it this way, and I have assigned everything here to collect page, and collect page we get the two-dimensional object and pass it to Kelvin draw. Kelvin draw will now help us to do all the drawings. In this video I have left out some two-dimensional methods and properties like begin path, line width, rect, stroke, and others. And we're going to see the difference between the rect and the fillRect. In summary, we started our HTML program with doctype HTML, and we opened a HTML tag. After the HTML is open, we open the head and we close the head. Inside the head we got here the title, and in the head we defined the meta for the browser and for the devices that will open this program. Next, inside the body, and here we have close body. We now opened the JavaScript and closed the script before the body. However, before the script, we defined the width and the height of the canvas. Inside the script, we now begin to define our document where the canvas will be located, and we asked JavaScript to get the two-dimensional objects on this canvas to be displayed on our document. However, this method has been passed to collect page, and collect page now we get the context of the two-dimensional image and pass it to Kelvin draw. Now we have used Kelvin draw to draw all the objects that we actually have done in this video. You can decide to call this any name, and finally we achieve this.